Lately, God's been working with me or showing me things that He's already shown me, like it's normal. But the things He's been showing me lately is in regards to believing the lie or the deception versus believing the truth and the reality in Him. He's brought up the verse, for example, of the seeds and how some seed fell on the stony path and stony ground. Some fell on the path, some fell in the weeds, and some fell on good ground. And we all know the story, but have you ever really paid attention to it and how it applies to your life? Because, as an example, there's been a few nights over the years, quite a few actually, where I've woken up in the middle of the night and God's showing me something really strong and really deep. And by the time morning comes, I can't remember it. The devil comes in just like the seed that fell on the pathway, which it couldn't spring up, and he took it. And I pray and pray for seeing it again, and I know sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But the point is, whether you're right with God or not, there's always this information coming to you, and Satan's always trying to steal it or confuse you or frustrate you and make it to no avail of what God's doing in you. And it's a constant fight. The devotional, one of them that I read yesterday, talked about it. Everything in this world is a constant fight. And as an example, it said, the food that we eat is used to nourish us and strengthen us and everything, but it also is what's going to, in the end, kill us. There's good and bad in everything, and there's got to be a balance with everything. And the only balance that can come to perfection is in Jesus, where He is telling you or showing you or paying attention to your body, because your body will tell you or show you that, okay, you drank too much, you ate too much, you ate the wrong things. For example, a piece of cake can taste really good, but if you eat too much of it, the sweetness of it just starts making you sick to your stomach. Or drinking too much coffee. Or when I was young, I remember the first time I went out drinking beer, and after about 2 of them, I was bloated and feeling kind of sick, but I kept drinking anyways because everybody else was, kind of a peer pressure thing. And I ended up throwing up. Eventually, I got used to it, and there's no problem, and I can drink a lot of beer. But now my body's back to the same thing. I can have a beer or two, but that's about it. After that, it doesn't taste right. And it's your body and or God letting you know that, okay, that's it. That's your limit. And, there's good in beer. It has good carbohydrates. It's made of grains, etc. But the alcohol is bad. Wine, same thing. The alcohol is bad, but the antioxidants that are in red wine is really good for you. I've read tequila is really good for you, but obviously if you're drinking a bottle a night, it's going to ruin you. Too much alcohol is going to kill your liver, and eventually it will kill you. But some in your system is good. Food, the same thing. The internet, the same thing. There's good and bad on the internet. If you're watching porn all day or listen to stupid music where they're talking about killing cops and booties on women and stuff like that, it's one thing. But if you're listening to some good old-fashioned gospel songs like I was blind and now I see, or how great thou art, or whatever, giving praise and glory to God is a whole nother thing. Or my business, for example, I run it from my house in the real estate business, and I can do it from here because of the internet. Everything is online, and it makes it simple with technology, cell phones, etc. So they can be used for good and they can be used for bad. I see a lot of businesses I go into where people are sitting there on their cell phones playing games or surfing Facebook or whatever instead of doing their jobs. So it can be good or bad. The point is how do you use it? And you will be judged on that in the final day, because we are to use things in the right way and do things the right way. That brings up the other aspect of what God was showing me very clear. In the old days, before I really knew Him, there was always this question in my mind of, well, what's too much, or what's enough? And what I mean by that is, if I use God's name one too many times, he's going to put me in hell, or how does it work? Or, how much, if I give money to the poor, how much do I really have to give in order to be saved? And the reason why you have those questions in your mind, if you have them as well, is because the religions put them there, because of their religious doctrine. And for years, I always was like, what is enough or too much? And in the Catholic upbringing, the belief system, at least with my parents, was as long as you had Holy Communion, as they called it, on Sunday, you're forgiven and you'll be okay. You'll be in heaven if you die. And I remember one guy who's a couple years older than me, this is back in high school, that was killed in a car accident. And my dad and a bunch of people were talking, well, did you see him receive communion on Sunday? Because if he did, he's okay. And, in my mind now is ridiculous what they're talking about. But that's the belief system. So what you have to do is ask yourself this question: is it really like that? Because, here in Tijuana, we have a lot of drug lords and activities going on. And so the question is let's say one of those guys who is out killing people and taking young children and selling their body parts off, or selling them into prostitution, they go to church on Sunday at the Catholic Church and receive Holy Communion, and then later that day or early next week, they're killed. Are they going to heaven because they received communion? Or maybe they even did penance or confession, as they call it, and are they going to heaven? There's no repentance or change in their life. They're still doing all the bad things. On the other side, you could have somebody that never took a penny from anybody and did the opposite, give from themselves all the time, but never went to Holy Communion or went to confession. Are they going to hell when they die? The point is, neither one is going anywhere unless they actually believe in God and they're doing things according to his will. Because in the end, that's what God wants, is that we all come to perfection and righteousness in him. And the only way that happens is through trials and tribulations and things. I got two kids that are really sick right now. The almost 5-year-old basically is sleeping all day long with a high fever. And this brings up another point, which is, do you trust in God when things like that happen, or do you run off to the doctor? About 4 years ago, at least 3 years ago, I don't remember when it was, but it was this time of year, I had a really, really bad cold. I was with a fever, shaking, my whole body ached. I just felt like I would rather have died. And it lasted that way for about 2 days, but in total it was about 2 weeks. Eventually I overcame it. My body fought it and overcame. My dad happened to be here at the time, and he was telling me, go get the flu shot. You got to get flu shots. He's a big believer in flu shots. And the problem was, every time I talked to him on the phone, he's always coughing, always sick. But he always got his flu shots. Me, I hardly ever coughed or ever got sick. And I never got flu shots. Long and short is, it's been 3 or 4 years, and I have yet to get sick again. And I've been around people that are sick. And the reason for it is, according to some people that I listen to that are doctors, and they believe the truth instead of the lie that the system's putting out there, is your immune system has to build up to overcome the virus that's coming. And the problem is, the virus is always changing and adapting to overcome what is trying to kill it, whether it's a vaccination or whatever. So all these things you're putting in your body is actually making these viruses stronger instead of killing them. And it's making your system weaker because you don't have the immune system to overcome it. And eventually it'll kill you. If you allow your body to build up its own immune system to it, then it can't hurt you. It might make you sick at some point in the future. I know it'll come again, and I'll be sick. But you have to let your body build up and overcome it. And it's exactly the same way with God in your life. The problems come, and God lets them come, because what they're designed to do from Him is to build you up where you overcome them, where you see that it really isn't that big of a deal. Most of it is just in our mind, that we think we have to look a certain way or be a certain way, or people are going to look down on us or whatever. The thing is, people are going to look down on you no matter what. If you have money, there's going to be people that look at you and think you hoard it and you are, whatever. On the other side, if you don't have anything, people are going to look down at you because you don't have, and they do. You can never please people. Don't try. But you can please God, and you have to do that. And it's not a matter of trying, because many people say, well, I try to overcome, but I just can't. Yeah, you can't on your own, but if you really know God and you hear Him and you obey what He says and really do what He says and do it at the highest level that you can, He will give you the power and the strength to overcome. And once you overcome, then you don't have that problem again. Just like getting sick. I don't get sick anymore because my system is overcome. And that's what I'm doing in my kids. I'm not running to the doctor and filling them with whatever to ease the short-term pain. I'm letting them suffer through the pain to build up an immune system so they don't have to deal with this the rest of their life. And that's exactly what God's trying to do with us mentally and spiritually. On the other side, Satan's always coming in and trying to use the same thing to kill us, where we just give in and we turn to drugs or alcohol or gossip or whatever, and we never really deal with the problem, and the problem's always there. And it just affects us for our whole life, and it affects our kids and our grandkids, and it's what the Bible talks about with generational sin. You have to overcome. You have to get rid of it in your life. There's not one person that's born where everything's perfect and they do everything right on their own, at least to a level that's pleasing to God. It might be pleasing to man, most of them, not everyone, but it's not pleasing to God. Not one person, not even Jesus. Jesus was perfect, but He was perfect because He only did what the Father showed Him to do. And He said it very clear in the Bible. And in Hebrews it says very clear that the Son was made perfect through the things of which He suffered. And those of us that have faith in Him will be perfected as well. You have to do things in Him, and you have to suffer through a lot of the same things Jesus did. And that's where your peace comes, your joy, and your success in God. So as always, this is just a long way of saying, seek first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and then everything else will be given to you. Peace.